for the next talk, we have Pascal De Keyser, CEO and founder of Portio, a platform pioneering tokenized co-living real estate. And yeah, guys, in this session, we will explore how blockchain can make housing more accessible by enabling shared ownership through tokens. And this is very interesting one. And let's give a warm welcome to Pascal. You're welcome here. The stage is fully yours.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. Thanks for the Blockchain Community Day for allowing us to present our solution to a I would say a big topic, which is the affordable housing. I'm just trying to get the screen shared organized. Look, like this.
Yeah, this is fine. And it's a quick reminder for everyone else here. Be active in the chat, ask questions. For the good questions and good engagement, you will get the monetary rewards, such as Netflix subscription, Spotify Premium. So guys, yeah, join our Telegram channel and stay active in the chat. Okay.
Here we go. So, Portio, what are we all about? We are all about finding solutions for the affordable housing problem, which we think is a problem that is really concerning different generations throughout the demographics. And why does that matter? If you look at the situation today for more and particularly younger generations, it's just a difficult ball game to get ownership or to get your ownership or acquisition of your own real estate. It was much easier, I would say 10, 20, 30 years ago. But for the younger generations, it's just a difficult situation to get their own home, to be able to buy their own home to the full extent, which also leads to the situation that younger generations, younger people, they remain much longer, I would say, dependent on the support of parents, of friends. They have to stay longer in the properties or in the houses which are owned or rented by family. So it's also not a very helpful situation when it comes to, let's say, developing your own independence and maturing as a person. So at the end of the day, this housing situation, most specifically in, I would say, the larger urban areas, in the big cities and large urban hubs, it's causing a big issue for younger people to get access to housing. Younger generations are typically getting squeezed out of the market and making it almost impossible to live there in a way that is sustainable and in a way that is also giving them at least some kind of a visibility on owning their own home, their own place that they can call home. So, and that's what we have been working on with Portio. So obviously, yes, we are indeed a real world asset venture focusing on a tokenization of real estate, but then in a very specific niche. We are focusing only on co-living, shared living projects because we feel that co-living and shared living is also part of the solution towards affordable housing. And so how we do it, we are basically trying to make the opportunity for people to acquire at least as part of their home. We make it possible by opening the opportunity to invest at a lower scale with low entry points, and as such giving everyone a pathway to co-ownership in a way that is affordable and in a way that is also, I would say, gradual or that has the possibility to build up in a gradual way. So we see the tokenization of co-living and shared living real estate assets as part of the solution, as part of the solution of the problem of the affordable housing, which is causing a big issue and a big challenge for many generations. Why is co-living growing? It's growing heavily in Europe. It's also growing quite interestingly again in the US. It had some slowing down of growth in the US, let's say the past 5 years, but now this trend is picking up again. What is underpinning the growth of co-living and shared living is basically there are a few factors doing this. Yeah, first of all, it's the flexibility. People want to work, travel, live in a more flexible way. They want to have the ability to change locations in a way that this is, I would say, flexible, that they don't have to commit to multiple year engagements with the property they are living in, and shared living and co-living type of projects are typically tapping into that niche. The second reason why co-living and shared living is really gaining traction is also, I would say, the purpose or the focus on ESG and on community. When you talk to people who are living in co-living, shared living projects, I'm actually calling you from a project in Manchester. I'm living in a shared living project in Manchester. When I talk to people here, why they are like to live here, it's really about this. One of the main reasons is about the community. Yeah? So people like to be surrounded by, I would say, like-minded people, by peers who share the same values, who share the same, I would say, potentially same ambitions in life, and that is one of the key drivers of let's say of the success and of the growth of co-living and shared living in the world. And another topic which is really important as well is obviously the whole ESG focus. These projects are really built with a large focus on environmental sustainability. And as such, this is I would say, a driver which is much more resonating to younger people than it used to do to, let's say, older generations. So that's also one of the reasons why co-living as I would almost call it as a movement is gaining traction across the globe. When you look at how the market is growing at this moment, the market is growing at roughly 20 to 30% on a yearly basis. What we see now is that larger institutional money is coming in. Institutional investors, institutional real estate investors are joining the market. That wasn't the case till, let's say, 2 years, but since 2 years, you see larger players coming in, which means that the growth of this niche asset is quite important, and it is moving from a nascent new asset really to something already more established. Prediction is that in a couple of years there will be over 500,000 of beds already built up, and yeah, the outlook for the market is really this way, that it's a movement that won't be stopped on a short notice. Why? Because it's really also about this affordability. Yeah? Living in a co-living, shared living type of project is typically, I would say, 20 to 30% cheaper / more affordable than if you would rent your own separate residential flat or home. So there are items, there are drivers that are really driving the growth of this asset. How we bring in tokenization and shared ownership into the equation, we do it obviously by using by using blockchain. In our case, we are using Ethereum, we are using ERC20 tokens. And what we basically allow is people to co-own, co-invest into the property they are using. Yeah. How we do it, we are allocating certain portions of the asset value. We are allocating it to the owners. They can build up their ownership. The way they are, how they are progressing with the rent they are paying. Some part of the rent can be transferred into tokens, which can give rights to an equity in the project, or which can give a right to a certain share in the economical rights of the asset they are living in. So it can be either to equity, it can be to debt. It depends on the structure we use per project. It depends also on the legal context we are working in. But both scenarios are possible. And at the end of the day, what we want to achieve is we want to achieve a situation where people are gradually building up their ownership into the asset they are living in. We call it the rent to own model. And this is, of course, a very powerful model for developers and for operators of this type of co-living and shared living projects, because it really creates a retention. It creates a certain degree of loyalty towards the tenants that are using the assets, which is very powerful for the brand, for the operating brand, because these people at the end of the day then become some kind of ambassadors for the operators, for the brand they are and the asset they are living in. Real world assets. I think the audience here is quite knowledgeable about what are real world assets. Obviously, what the tokenization and bringing these properties on chain brings benefits. Yeah, it brings benefits in terms of liquidity. It brings benefits in terms of transparency, and it obviously, and that is very important, it lowers the entry barrier for people to get engaged, to invest, or to become a co-owner of the asset you're living in. Yeah. So fractioning the asset into smaller fractions, into smaller portions, is just allowing a much larger audience to get involved in supporting real estate, co-living real estate projects on a global scale. That's what we are building, and that's what we are developing with Portio, and that's what we have been developing with Portio since the last 2 years. How we are and what we are now, let's say, launching on a very short notice. We have our own marketplace, and what is I would say really interesting on how we are combining financial but also non-financial benefits to the token ownership. At the end of the day, the property tokens, they represent an economical interest. So you get your share of the revenue, and you get your share of the value appreciation. But it also gives you certain VIP perks, certain VIP benefits that can be used in the network we are building with throughout Europe and throughout the globe with other operators. So people who are investing in these projects, who are acquiring tokens, they will also be able to use them with within other projects and exchange them, for instance, for free stays, for VIP treatments, for upgrades. There are plenty of opportunities, quite similar with, I would say, the typical hospitality type of benefits and perks which are given to higher tier users. The same model can be applied, so tokens can have a financial but also a non-financial benefit. From the legal point of view, tokenization it's a challenge. Even with MiCAR now coming in rule in Europe, it is still a challenge because of the I would say the sometimes the difficulties in categorizing the nature of the nature of the token, and how we are organizing ourselves is we have basically a mixed structure. We are organized from out of the jurisdiction of Luxembourg, and we are using, let's say, a compartmented securitization structure, which allows us to structure each project in a particular way, and also allows us to limit the risk to any project, to any investor just assigned to that project. So we are not a typical fund. We are a structure that has specific legal setups, legal compartments under one umbrella for each individual project. As such, it allows to have people to invest directly rather than to invest in a number of projects, and it obviously then also allows to somehow mitigate the risks involved with each project. What are the values for operators? It's clear that it's an alternative way of fundraising. It's a very strong retention marketing possibility. What are the advantages for tenants? I think the most important one is that at the end of the day, you're on a pathway to create a co-ownership of the asset of the property you're living in. When you want to move out to a next location, to a next building, to a next property, at that moment you can put your tokens, your property tokens, on the market. You can make them liquid, and as such benefit of the years or the months you have paid rent, instead of just leaving without any compensation. At that moment, when leaving the asset, you then have the opportunity to somehow make your staked up property tokens, make them liquid, and get your a certain degree of economical benefit from the rent and the rental periods you had. Another very important potential of the model we are building is that next to having the let's say the opportunity and the benefits of holding tokens in regards to having your share on the revenue and the value appreciation, obviously the next stage what we are building is to be able to use these tokens in a DeFi world where you can use them as collateral for external lending or borrowing. I think that's it's one of the most obvious next steps for our company. There are already other I would say tokenization players who are in this on this track and who are already offering the opportunity for people to use their tokens as a collateral for the towards for borrowing and lending to external parties. So that's also on our roadmap, and that will bring additional value and additional benefits to the ecosystem who is engaged with Portio. We have been building a quite experienced team. We are also surrounded by an extensive network of advisors covering, I would say, the legal as well as the regulatory aspects of this business. This is very important to have, as regulatory compliance is really one of the, I would say, the biggest challenges in the whole real estate tokenization world. So we, from the beginning, made some really some important steps towards bringing together a team of people with the correct and the relevant experience to make our plans reality and to push our company further. We have been backed by some early investors since the past 2 years. So we were initially founded in the second half of 23, and we got the backing initially from Coliving Ventures, which is world's most I would say reputed ecosystem builder in the co-living and shared living industry. It's a network organization bringing together all the stakeholders within the industry. It's very important to be part of that network because it brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of connections. Startup Bootcamp helped us last year accelerating and bringing the team together. And very recently, and that will be published or let's say announced later in the second or the first half of July, We will most probably graduate from an accelerated program focused on emerging fund managers with a large focus on the Gulf states, which most probably, hopefully, will allow us also to make some steps towards, I would say, more institutional funding and make it possible for our company to do the first 3 or 4 pilots we have in our pipeline. We have the first opportunity launching in later this month. That's the Andorra project. And but obviously we have also a lot of other projects already waiting for tokenization to happen. And so yeah, we are very I would say very positive and very bullish on our plan, on our mission. We feel that what we are doing with Portio is it's more than just real estate tokenization. It's also creating an impact. It's bringing a solution to an important problem that is really affecting the different demographics, and that's why the whole team, together as myself, we are really really fueled every day with a lot of energy because we feel that we are doing something good, bringing together old industry real estate with new technologies, and I think that's a bringing both together and being able to match them is a can create nice opportunities, nice value offerings, and that's what we what we hope to achieve with Portio. That's it from my side, and I'm really hoping to answer some of your questions now.
Wow, thank you, Pascal. Yes, what you're doing is amazing. And in terms of ESGs, I think it's invaluable. I've got a small question from my side. Well, tokenization sounds great, really, but how do you handle real-world evictions? For example, if a co-owner stops paying, is there an on-chain foreclosure process, or do you still need to go to the courts, etc.?
So how the model works is basically people who are who become co-owners. They are first of all they are also a renter. Yeah? So they are paying their monthly rent. They are, and obviously when a person gets stops paying his rent, there are always there are procedures to follow. It depends on the jurisdiction you're working in. I mean, the way you have to deal with non-paying tenants is very different in Belgium as in the UK or in any other country. So these rules, these laws also apply for our model. At the end of the day, when someone is no longer paying his bills, at one moment it will somehow lead to him being no longer allowed to use the property, which will then also reflect in at a certain moment, unfortunately, potentially losing his claims or his rights on the tokens he has built up. So there's nothing really more. It's nothing different than in a real world situation where a tenant is no longer paying. Tokenizing it doesn't really change, or it doesn't change, and it also doesn't solve that problem.
All right, thank you. I've got. It's very exciting. Sorry, I've got many more questions, but I'll let our audience take their chance as well. The questions will be projected on the live.
The cheapest home. We are now, the first project we are doing is a tokenization of a really unbelievable nice project, co-living, co-working in a rural part of Spain. It's even Andorra. It's in the middle of the nature. It's a large project. And what we are doing is, it's large in the sense that it has 75 beds capacity and I think 60 co-working places. We are tokenizing only a certain percentage, a certain part of the complete value. In that project specifically, we are tokenizing 500,000 of a complete asset value of 3 million. So it's 16%, 1/6 of the total value. We are tokenizing, let's say, this 16% stake as a start. This is the first project we will be tokenizing. That's our, I would say, our launch project. Obviously, the ambition from our side is to grow in the numbers. We have to do it step by step. If you consider that a tokenized bet, if you want, typically costs around $200,000. If you want to have like a building with roughly 25 to 30 capacity of 25 to 30 people, 25, 30 beds, the asset value will be between 6 and 7 million USD, and 25 to 30 to capacity towards 50. That is also the sweet spot. What we think is for us a nice niche to operate in. If it gets smaller, it can be a challenge from the I would say from the just from the economics. Potentially, the profitability will not work. You need a certain minimum size to make things happen financially, and we feel that 25, 30 is like a nice threshold to not go below. And if you go high over the 60s, 70s, then the whole community aspect becomes more challenging. So we feel that 25 to 70 is like is the sweet spot. And so we are talking about our target is to tokenize, I would say, properties between 5 and 10 million USD. The reality is on that question. Question is why why tokenization is not focusing more on rural projects rather than urban projects. The reality is that the interest in terms of numbers, the number of people that are really interested in living in co-living, share living projects, it's just much higher in urban centers, urban areas. Additionally, when you're going into more rural areas, it's very likely that it's going to be quite difficult to have their properties with a large footprint. And as I just mentioned in the answering the former question, you need a certain size to make things work from a financial point of view. So that is why I think you see in the market indeed that there is a lot of focus on bigger cities, on urban areas, urban centers. And to be honest, red tape, I think also, well, at least in Europe, red tape is applicable in urban cities and urban centers as well as in the smaller villages. Unfortunately, legal rules are not, let's say, depending on the areas or the areas you are developing your asset in. At the end of the day, most of the legal framework is applicable for the complete territory, so it doesn't really change if you are in a developing in a city or in an urban area. And I think it's just about the demand for urban cities and urban environment is just higher, and the economics work better in an urban environment rather than in a rural one. That's a good question in terms of how we see people transitioning from co-living to a different, let's say, way of living. Question is, to which extent co-living is a temporary phase for Gen Zers. Yes, it is. When you look at the demographics, who is using co-living, it's typically between 22 and 35. People going out of university or high school, but still want to have that community around them. So they move from student housing to co-living. Obviously, when there is a, I would say, family growing, when kids when the kids come to join the family, the whole environment of co-living is much more challenging because these projects are not, I would say, primarily focused on families with kids. That's just a given. So what you typically see is that between, let's say, from out of 35, there is indeed a dropout of that category of age. And so co-living is indeed a solution for Gen Zers, but it won't be the solution for Gen Zers who got over the 40s. However, there is one remark I want to give about that. That is, what you then see is that between 40 and 60, most probably people will use, I would say, more classic individual ways of living. But then from out of 60 years old, there is again more a need of community. You can call it community. It's maybe a less positive of way of mentioning it, is just the fear of loneliness, which hits typically also the elder generation. And that is why you see now already senior co-living gaining traction as well, mainly in Europe. It's a way of hybrid living where people are still get their private areas, but they have already much more amenities and spaces in the building used for shared purpose. And a lot of these projects then also have a first line of medical aid, and that's a sub-segment of co-living that is also gaining traction step by step now. And I think there will be other sub niches of the movement that will pop up. There was a very interesting project until recently in France that was focused on co-living for single mother with kids. Very focused, very niche. So those type of projects will continue to arise. But to answer the question, for Gen Zers today, yes, it is a temporary way of living, which most probably they will leave after 10 or 15 years.
All right. Thank you so much, Pascal. I wish the greatest luck and success to all of your next upcoming projects. If there is any way we could contribute to them, please reach out to our community. The blockchain professionals will be ready to help. And thank you for that visionary look of yours. And it was very important session for us. We've learned how blockchain can turn housing from a solitary struggle into a shared opportunity. Truly groundbreaking. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you really for having us. Thank you for giving us the opportunity, and be happy to engage further with the community. Thanks.
Thank you.